All right, welcome back, everybody. And here we go, week 5 LOC Dynasty previews, and things are starting to look interesting now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my team's not interesting, but all the other teams are. Especially some teams that I think should be sound are actually doing pretty good. They won last couple of them won last week, so definitely excited to see what this week does for them. First up, we do have my team, Philly Miracle Men 0-4, take on Randall Flag Football, and let's be honest, it was an easy W. I had myself going at least 0-5. I don't remember what I was actually projecting myself to do, but 0-5 was definitely on the card. Like I said, every week, 2-year rebuild, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah, you definitely have some work to do. The reason why this one's on the schedule is because it's the first time you guys ever met. So I wanted to make sure everybody had a first meeting in after this year in both formats. At least for you, it looks like Justin Fields is going to be the answer moving forward in Chicago. So some positive news for you on that end. Let's face it, Sam Darnold's exceeding expectations so far, at least in fantasy for Brian and Randall Flagg. Joe Mixon, he's on the mend though, so that could hurt Brian, obviously, in his production. But it's just when you look at the whole entire lineup in the flex, fact that he has Rodgers in the second quarterback hole where you just have, an RWT, it doesn't look good for you. And I think this is going to be a blow.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Next up, we have Curly Lamborghini 0-4 versus Bolt Up 3-1. And it's the criticized traits. I mean, critical traits. So, I mean, Bolt Up got Jalen Hurts, who in fantasy is great, in real life sucks. And he also has Herbert, who we thought he was going to be good, but we thought the draft picks would be better. So that's why he was able to get the trade. And, Curly Lamborghini 0-4. I'm actually surprised he's 0-4, honestly. I thought he'd be a little better than that.
Yeah, I'm actually not that surprised because I know I gave, when I look at it here, I gave Curly Lamborghini, let's see here, 8-5 record, but I actually had him starting the season 1-4. The one that surprised me, I thought he was going to beat Bare Naked Ladies week 1. That's what I had originally predicted, but I've predicted losses against this round of Flag, Bills Mafia, and Bolt Up, and I'm predicting that he is going to lose this one again. When we look at this one, these guys are career 1-1 versus each other. So this will be the third meeting. But for Lucas, Eckler looked really good for him the other night. And I think he's going to be a touchdown dependent guy with a lot of touches though. And then Ricky Seals-Jones, he did pick him up, I think, on the waivers. So obviously this guy's going to put up Logan Thomas numbers for him now, you would think or would hope. But either way, he's going to replace that. And then when I look at Curly Lamborghini, he's got DJ Shark still in his lineup on IR. So he has things he needs to address and clearly not addressing them in a timely fashion. And Lucas does. So I'm going to go with Lucas here. Part of the criticized trades too is because Sven has come up publicly and criticized Lucas on a couple of his trade offers, which I don't blame him. Sometimes some of his offers are really bad.
That they are, but it's fantasy football. You're gonna try. To me, you're gonna start high. You're not gonna fucking come out with the best trade offer. So you're gonna start high. Some people start really high, but to me, it's fantasy football. No reason to get so angry about it, but it is what it is. Next up, you have Autumnus Primer, who's 0-4 against unnecessary. I'm actually going to take. I actually had Curly winning this game. I'm going to change it, and I am picking Bolt Up to win. This one, Autumnus Prime 0-4 versus unnecessary rough is 2-2, and is Milan Snake been? What do you think, Commish?
I think he has been. I mean, last year it was about the quarterback injuries. This year, I think we put on the thing, is he better than mediocre? And I know he was offended by it, but so far when we look at the record, it's 2-2, and he has been mediocre. It's been win-loss kind of record. So this time I got him on the winning end. I originally had him to win this one. And I think he will win it because Autumnus Prime's team just doesn't scare me. He does have Chuba Hubbard, which kind of is getting some of those CMAC numbers. Jamar Chase obviously looks like he's going to turn out to be the right draft pick, but there was just way too many holes on Autumnus Prime's team for the draft to just address in 1 year. So, and when I look at Milan's side, he's got AB for one more season, clearly at least one. Marquise Brown's finally catching the football and getting big points because of it, because he makes big plays. And I think that's why Unnecessary Rough is going to win this one, because he has guys that will get those big play points, whereas Autumnus Prime doesn't have it as much.
I have Autumnus Prime going 0-13, so that's all I got to say for that, about that. Next up, we have Zebras 3-1 versus Likely Losers 1-3. And is time running out for Stewart? And the answer is yes. The time is running out. I don't really think there's anything that he can do besides, getting a miracle to make his team actually make the playoffs. I think time is actually already ran out. Let's call it what it is.
I don't know if it's ran out completely just yet, but I think for him, and by the way, this is the first meeting between the two teams. It's running out in terms of having a good title defense, because let's face it, if he loses this one, it is 1-4, and then I would say, yeah, he is definitely in danger of missing a playoff. So it's kind of a must win here. You got to think. And he might have the ability to get the win. I originally had him pick to win this one. Guess what? I'm actually going to stick with the prediction. I think Likely Losers finds a way, and a couple of reasons why. Uncertainty for Susie at the quarterback position. Is it Jimmy G? Is it Trey Lance? I know she's waiting for Trey Lance to be the starter moving forward so she can get rid of Jimmy G, so she can have two quarterbacks. But right now it's still in limbo. And I think because of that limbo, it's going to cause her not to get the points that she wants. And as much as Matty Ice is a bum, and you know this because you had him in fantasy and he let you down, he is playing the Jets in London. And I have a feeling that he is going to get the W there and get some big points against the Jets.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, if Jimmy G if Jimmy G doesn't play this week, I would just drop him and just pick up another quarterback. But the question comes down to, who do you play? Do you play Le'Veon Bell? Do you play Latavius Murray there as well? So she's going to have a couple things she needs to use. But she does have Jonathan Taylor, Gibson, Zach Moss, I think put up 8 points, 13 points last week. So he's putting up points as well. They cancel out Likely Losers team. He does have Matt Ryan, who I am not a fan of, but I think he actually did pretty good last week. He had 37 points last week for Stewart. So it's going to be close. Because looking at that game, I think that going into last week, Stewart was projected to lose, and he just had a couple of big games from players. And that's why, and I think, without those big games, he is 0-4. And I think time is ran out. I don't think his team's good enough, but he can always prove me wrong. Next up, it's Bare Naked Ladies versus the Illuminati. Is it Bumsville? The answer is yes, it's Bumsville. I mean, you have Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, but you are only, I think it's 30 points. I'm actually trying to get there real quick as I was looking at the actual games. But I think he only has 30 points more points for him than I do. So anybody who has two quarterbacks has 30 points more. Actually, I lie. It's 5 points more than I do. That's why your team is going to lose this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I originally picked Bare Naked Ladies to win this one, and it is Bumsville for the two teams. Because of that last trade by Robert, I'm going to stick with the prediction. I don't think I'll actually pick Robert to win another game all season long due to that trade offer, which I still talk about. But anyways, when I look at Bare Naked Ladies, his team sucks, and it's going to probably take a miracle for him to win. And it's going to have to come down to Zach Wilson actually having a decent game in London. So, the thing is, the NFL wants these two teams that go there to put on a show. And let's face it, both teams suck, Jets and Atlanta.
Yep.
And it could turn out to be a high-scoring game because of that reason. And I've seen some games in London turn out to be high-scoring games. I think that's going to be the only hope here, because truly I do think the Illuminati does have a better team, but I'm just going to stick with Bare Naked Ladies.
Fair enough. Next up, you have Agent Steele, 2-2 versus No More, 3-1. Who shows up? I mean, your team has to show up for you to win. And I think last week, I don't remember if you won or lost last week, but I think the week before, your team is flip-flopping. And they're either really good or really bad. And you're right. What team shows up for you this week?
Yeah, I hope it's going to be one that's going to win. That's for sure. I originally had myself to win this one, and I'm going to have to stick with it because, I think Kristen O'More has a really great team, but I'm getting them at the right time. C-Mac's out, David Montgomery's out. That's two heads of that huge monster he had at running back that are plucked off, that are going to make a significant impact, I feel. And I think it's going to be the difference for me. Because my two heads are still there and with the orange helmet, Hunt and Chubb, and these guys are getting double digits for me every week. Remember the trade Gabriel Davis for Deebo Samuel? Wow, did that ever pay off for me? Third best wide receiver in fantasy points wise, and Gabriel Davis has been an afterthought. So that one definitely paid off. And I think trades like that, when I look at my flex, my flex is CeeDee Lamb, Odell, and Devontae Smith. I mean, I love having those guys as flex, and I'm rolling with Carson Wentz now. Your buddy, I hate the guy. He's a bum, but he's got to be better than Big Ben. It's all up to you now, Wentz, with those broken ankles of yours.
No, he got you 22 points last week. Or I don't know if you actually have me line up or not, but he got 22 points. He got 22 points last week, so he'll definitely. He's playing Baltimore, so he might not get 22. He might get you 10, but 10's better than what Big Ben would get you. So. And then you got Amari Cooper playing, the Giants, which I hope Amari Cooper goes off for LOC purposes. But as you said, No More does have David Montgomery, so he's definitely going to be out. He has C-Mac out. I believe I originally picked. Let's see, who did I originally pick? I did pick No More to win this because of that three-headed monster that he should have. But they're all questionable. Montgomery's out, and I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go with you. I think you're going to win. Next up, you have Sobotica Spartans 2-2 versus Bills Mafia 3-1, and it's 300-point teams. You also scored 300 points in week 1, and then you scored 217 in week 2. Hence the flip flopping of your team.
Yeah, well, Bills Mafia put up I think he put up a couple of 300-point games already. Sobotica did last week in that huge win against Unnecessary Roughness, which I think was critical for him to get the 2-2. Because Adrian's 4-0 in that division, and let's face it, the whole goal is to win your division first, right? I mean, you get your money back, number one, so you get fees free for next year, and then I mean, yeah, you can brag, you have bragging rights, right? When I look at my original prediction, I had Sobotica Spartans originally to lose this one. And unfortunately for Sobotica Spartans, I'm going to have to stick with it, but I think this game's going to be super close. I think if you watched that game, Tampa Bay, the other night in Brady's return to New England, Brate was targeted as much as Gronk was. So he does have Brate at tight end with Ketch and Kelsey. But again, I'm going to say it all year long. Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford for Bills Mafia. I think these two guys are going to make him and have him cruise to a title. I honestly do. I don't think there's a better quarterback duo, and it's going to be tough to play Bills Mafia every week because those teams are always putting up points. And I mean, if you can get 100 points from your quarterbacks, it's a huge advantage. I'm going Bills Mafia here, 4-1, looking dangerous.
Yeah, I also had Bills Mafia winning this one. Bills Mafia is number 1 for points for. But again, I mean, I know he's definitely going to make the playoffs in my book. But the question comes down to what team shows up for him, because we had him. He was the most points for, I believe, last year as well. Won his division. I think he had the best record, and then he was 1 and done. And so, he's definitely going to make the playoffs. But I think he needs to watch out for who he plays in the 8-hole. Next up, you have Vlad Jr. Crew 3-1 versus Orange Crush. Can Crushy, I believe that's what we called him last week. Can Crushy stay undefeated? What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome game. When you look at the standings, it is 1 versus 2 in the standings. So it's going to be a thriller. And the other thing that makes it even more intriguing is it's the first meeting ever versus these two teams. So It's exciting. When I look at my original predictions, I had Chris and Vlad Jr. crew to start out the year 4-0. Big part of that was because he had 2 games against the Illuminati. One of those games he actually lost, surprisingly. And then I had him losing this game against Orange Crush. And I am going to pick him to lose again. And again, it goes back to what I said about Krista's team having Russell Wilson play the Rams. That's historically not been that great. Mahomes versus Buffalo Sunday night. You know it's going to be a shootout. We all know it. Mahomes is going to put up big points on the other side for Orange Crush. Cordero Patterson, my prediction is he doesn't get the touchdowns this week. It will be Mike Davis in more of a ground and pound role in that game. I love Darren Waller on Vlad Jr. crew's side, so he can definitely put up an immediate advantage, and there's definitely an advantage there at tight end for Vlad Jr. crew. But I think, when I look at the flex, though, Selvin Ahmed really doesn't, that's not a name that really scares me all that much. And then I look at Claypool on the other side for Orange Crush. I think Orange Crush is just slightly better and will find a way to win because in large part Mahomes. And if he can just get enough from Jacoby Brissett, which I think he will, it's going to lead to a W for Orange Crush.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Orange Crush is third in points for him. He does actually. I think it's Vlad Jr. crew. I apologize. It is Vlad Jr. crew. He is third for points for Russell Wilson, Patterson. But then he has Kenyon Drake and Ronald Jones. Kenyon Drake was an afterthought last week. He wasn't even getting the number 1 touches. They paid a guy $10 million or something like that, and they're not even letting him run the ball. He got 1 rush last week for 2 yards. I mean, how do I sign up for that job? I can take a hit for 2 yards. But yeah, I mean, looking at the 2 teams, Crushy does have Mahomes playing Buffalo and CEH playing Buffalo as well. And Hines, he will get points. He is going to get some PPR. He did get negative 0.14 points last week, I guess I would say. Just looking at the 2 tight ends, Waller and Hawkinson versus Andrews and Ingram. It's going to be tough. I think Vlad Jr. crew has a better tight ends. Wide receivers to me are a wash at best, maybe in favor of Vlad Jr. crew. And then kind of looking at the flex, Ruggs. He is getting points. And then looking at the other side, Brissett, I'm actually not a fan of Brissett. He's getting 17, 18 points a game. Looking at the 2 teams, I originally had Vlad Jr. crew winning this game, and I am going to stick with Vlad Jr. crew winning over Crushy.
No more undefeated teams.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And that is the end.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this while you're in Vegas.
No problem. Have a good day. I'll talk to you. Should talk to you guys next week, probably, not this week.
Have you done any gambling?